to try and deal with the Sunray, but still very strong, and I think definitely very strong in combination with the Faceless Void. It becomes not even necessarily just about the Sunray, but also getting that extremely reliable setup for the Supernova. And as soon as you get potentially 2 Sunrays in a fight, that's just where things get completely ridiculous. So, and that's another here that we didn't talk about, the Disruptor as well. That's something else that people have been using to deal with the Phoenix a little bit. So Empire kind of setting their combo up for success here.
Yeah, definitely. You know, another one that I wouldn't mind as an answer, and it also works pretty well against Faceless Void, is going back for a position for Kunkka. Occasionally we've seen teams like eHome run that as well, and it's kind of a nice answer because whoever ends up getting caught in that Chronosphere is going to be able to get the damage reduction from the Coco's Rum, but we'll see if they do decide to go for that route. Also, the X into Mirana Arrow combo is pretty strong. Not sure if that's the route they're going to go for, but I guess the other thing to consider is they've also got like a lot of pushing potential already with the Beastmaster there. Maybe they go for something along the lines of a Sven or a Jug.
Yeah, they've just looked at options. I feel like Beastmaster really not only gives them lots of options in terms of how they want to run this draft, but it also gives them options in terms of where their various heroes are going to be run. I feel like most likely it's going to end up being your position for a Beastmaster, you know, mostly jungling, but they could still mix things up a lot here. I mean, we could even see a support Mirana. Recently, she's mostly been played as a core, but it's still not completely outside of the realm of possibility. Meanwhile, for Empire, only real mix-up for them is kind of whether or not the Faceless Void is going to be going safe lane or off lane right now, but that's a decision that they can also leave a little bit later on into the draft, so we might see that in the next couple of picks.
Yeah, that's something that I'd be kind of curious about. They're banning out the Bounty Hunter, so that sort of gives a little bit more of the weight to the thought that this is going to be that position for Beastmaster, or at least somebody in the jungle. And they do opt to take out that Juggernaut, so you know, it's those types of heroes that either A, give you sustain, you could think about like a Witch Doctor or something else like that, or the armor from the Sven is another way that they could try and go for it if they want to build around a Beastmaster's pushing ability after he gets that level 6 and, you know, roams into a lane and finds a kill. It's a pretty easy way to consistently take down an off-lane tower, but I don't know. We haven't seen a ton of Sven recently, but it seems like it could be nice already having one of the nice counters to him already taken on their team.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that Empire are trying to avoid with the Juggernaut ban is that they're trying to dodge a lineup that might be able to sneak underneath their timing pretty much completely. So, you know, Faceless Void in the early game, when people talk about Void, the big thing that a lot of people always mention is that he does have a reasonably long cooldown on Chronosphere, especially in the early stages. You know, we're talking over 2 minutes, and often with certain lineups you can just run at them, you can get Chronosphered, maybe you lose 1 or 2 people, you take a relatively even fight, and then you just pick yourselves right back up and you go and push, and you take 2 buildings potentially if you have the right kind of lineup. So I think that's really what Empire are just afraid of right now, that DC might put together like an ultra push kind of a lineup, and that's the direction that they seem to be heading in right now. They got the Beastmaster, they've got the Vengeful Spirit, and Empire, their response to that is just going to be to shore up their team fight a little bit more, and this is always kind of a good answer to pushing strategies in general. If they have more push than you, then you just need to have more team fight. When they all turn up to a tower, you just bring everybody, throw all of your AoE abilities at them, and you should win the fight in theory.
Yeah, definitely, and I would imagine that this is going to be that position. Well, I guess it's kind of an awkward position with the Phoenix already being taken, because Kunkka does provide a lot of reliable lockdown, but that reliable lockdown is not in the same vein as like a Lion Jump Hex. It's reliable lockdown if your opponents don't have BKBs, or if they don't have, you know, some other way to counter that, like a Yule Scepter with the X Torrent combo. As for now, at least, it kind of feels like I still like it, but it feels a little bit fragile to me. While simultaneously, if they get the farm, maybe greedy is the better word.
Yeah.
Although I will say that Digital Chaos, they've already built a lineup that can work well for this, and this is what I was going to go back for and say could be an answer also, is the Weeha Invoker. We saw the combination played out all the time with the Beastmaster, just Roar, Sunstrike, whoever it is dead, and now you've also got that extra forward spirit pushing possibility. So I'm a little bit concerned right now. It feels like DC are right in their wheelhouse where they want to be.
Yeah, the one thing to mention about the Invoker here is that it can be a little bit frustrating to play into the Faceless Void with time dilation, but It just means that we will have to adjust his build a little bit to get it a spell, either pick up a Yule Scepter maybe in place of the drum, or get a somewhat early BKB potentially, depending on how the game is going. BKB looks even more attractive now as Empire pick up the tide, but yeah, it looks like Empire just going for kind of exactly what I said, which is when you see that the enemy team wants to push and they want to take your buildings early on, you just grab as many big team fight spells as you can and just fight right back.
You know, what they could do if they wanted to here, and it would be a little bit awkward, but they could just run a mid-Kunkka. It's a little bit bold. It's not something that we always end up seeing, and it could be rough against the Invoker, but it would give them an option to go back for something like a Lion or one of those other heroes that gives you that instant disable to shut down the Invoker. I wouldn't hate it completely, but it looks like, at least for now, DC are expecting to see the Death Prophet, so they ban that one out. Also going to take the Slark out of the pool. What's your liking for Empire here?
I think it's actually it's a tough call. The really safe hero kind of, I think, is something like a Windrunner, just a decent matchup against the Invoker. You're not going to lose there. It gives you some more counter push. In terms of other options to combo with the Void, I'm trying to think here, but
Maybe
not
a
really.
Puck?
Yeah, they could go for a Puck if they just want more and more team fight. Could be reasonable.
I guess that they wouldn't really have the push potential then too. I think the DP was just a really good ban there for DC.
Yeah.
If they wanted to go the route of the mid Kunkka, I wouldn't mind a Shadow Shaman. That could be kind of cool. But I feel like I'm the only person in the world outside of Attacker that really loves that hero mid. He's pretty fun, but what about on the side of DC? What is it that they really need to round out their draft?
I feel like they have options. So TV's been banned. They just want somebody. I think they want somebody that's relatively survivable, just because there is still going to be a lot of burst magical damage coming in. It's not an amazing lifestealer game by any means, especially against the Windrunner, since you don't really love buying MKB that much on Nyx, but it could be decent just to frontline for their lineup, since that's something that they are lacking a little bit right now. Because Beastmaster doesn't want to frontline, Mirana doesn't want to be there. All right, they're just going to go for the Drow strat. All right.
Last pick, Drow Ranger. And it was always going to be an option. This is something that can definitely be scary. The other thing that I'll say is, I often feel like one of the reasons that you pick Wind Ranger, not just to be able to, have the nice laning stage where you can just sort of continuously power shot, but also eventually your opponent is going to leave the lane and then you can take that tier 1 tower. But I don't feel like that's something that Invoker is really going to want to do, and they're going to have to try and force him out of there by virtue of maybe a gank from Kunkka Phoenix or something, if they want to try and take down the mid tier 1. It could be tough.
Yeah, I think the big thing about the Wind Ranger here is that Empire just know that on paper it's a pretty decent matchup against the Invoker. You do end up getting outfarmed eventually, but at least early on you've got the Windrun to help keep you safe. And DC's lineup is very much centered around this Invoker. The Beastmaster kind of setting up for Sunstrikes potentially, the Drow Ranger giving the early damage for him as well. So I think a lot of this rests on Wii, and the other big thing is that with DC picking up this Drow Ranger as their final grab, it's not that it's not that Drow Ranger lineups can't go late, but I feel like they just can't go late against Empire's lineup, because as soon as their respawn times are long enough to the point where Empire pretty much always have their big teamfight abilities up for every single fight, then I just don't really like DC's chances all that much in the 5-on-5s, because they're very single target focused. They have pretty much no AoE stuns outside of the Invoker, and Empire are almost nothing but AoE stuns.
Well, and I mean, this is going to then, if that's your read on, I kind of agree with you here. This game could be decided relatively early. Well, hopefully they end up being able to make a good one of it regardless of what happens, but a very interesting start so far as the drafts are concerned. I do really like the dynamic of the Beastmaster with the Drow Ranger strat. This was something that we saw out of TNC for a while, as they would actually... What they were doing was first round picking Avenge and then also either a Tidehunter or a Beastmaster, so that way they would have that nice control for a pickoff, and then they would go back afterwards for a second phase Drow Ranger, and it was really strong. Getting away with the fifth pick Drow, Sort of feels like it's either A, Empire just not thinking about it, or B, feeling comfortable. They've got a lot of D-push. They really do have a lot of the answers that you sort of need for a Drow Ranger draft.
Yeah, I think Invoker needs to go kind of ham this game, and then the big thing that DC are looking for is that they need to try and, when they get that Aegis, assuming that they can get the Aegis, they should be able to get into Roshan and pick that up at some point. I think that Aegis needs to probably translate into most of the outer towers being demolished, but again, they should win the laning stage here by all accounts, and they're giving Wii all the help in the world. Looks like Misery is going to be hanging around mid lane a little bit, could even get a rotation out of Saxa at some point, given that he's got a Smoke of the Seed already picked up, so they really are setting up Wii for success.
That early stage, it's going to be a little bit tough for Afterlife here. He's going to take some more of these right clicks and getting slowed down by Resolution. A little bit of lag coming. I might need to try one more reconnect, see if we can solve the issue here. It doesn't always end up happening, but we'll try it and we'll come back. Let me know if there's anything that we're missing as we're missing it. I guess that doesn't really help, but...
Yeah, Afterlife tanking some damage at the moment, but he's actually picked up Kraken Shell at level 1, so the damage for Misery and Saxa not really doing all that much. And no magic missile here, actually just the Wave of Terror from the Vengeful Spirit, so Tide just saunters his way back to the tower. Mu is jungling up a little bit at the moment. Mipashik has come in here with the vision that he has from a Radiant Observer Ward placed really early up on the cliff to just steal some of the experience, and now coming in to try and swipe a couple of the last hits, so just trying to slow down this jungle Beastmaster as much as they can, and Void just getting absolute free farm in the safe lane right now since the lane is completely empty.
I mean, I guess that is something also to be worried about, is you're picking the Drow Ranger. I mean, granted, it has great synergy within the team that DC has drafted, but there's a lot of answers here for a Drow Ranger in general. You've got the Kunkka, who, you don't want to have to pick up a BKB early on a Drow. X marks the spot is really going to be a problem, and then also on top of that, Chronosphere with Ravage. It's a very, very... hard game, I think, for Resolution to deal with this. But we'll see if he's going to be able to position himself well and possibly put his team, rather give his Weeha Invoker enough to get him off to a good start here.
And Scandal is actually giving Wii, 4 on the mid lane right now? 9 and 7 versus 6 and 3. So I kind of mentioned that without the Drow Aura, this matchup does normally go in favor of the Windrunner early on, and then once the Invoker gets his Forge Spirits up, he starts to pick up and farm Afterlife.
Yeah, he's in some trouble. A couple more right clicks, and he's going to end up going down here, possibly. They end up being able to find First Blood, going the way of Resolution. So Afterlife, a little bit too far forward, and he gets punished. A pretty good start there for DC. It's about what you could hope for, but as you mentioned, that mid lane already not going great for Weeha. He's going to have to catch up against the Scandal Wind Ranger.
Yeah, he's getting doubled up right now, which I find super surprising.
Mu? Maybe going to end up going down. They do have Misery here to keep him alive for the moment, but that's going to be a power shot through, and maybe going to be able to find that kill. He does end up being able to bring him down, although the Kunkka dies himself, so a little bit going into the favor again of Empire as Kunkka finds the kill before he goes down.
Yeah, nice little bit of gold for him. Mu may have been power shot sniped there anyway, potentially, but still definitely nice pickup. Kunkka's getting things done in the early stages of the game. I think that's something that we were a little bit worried about, that it's not necessarily the best roaming and ganking support, but it looks like Mapashka is still making it work, same as he did on the Elder Titan in the previous game.
How's your lag going, real quickly, by the way? Are you
I'm fine. My connection to China is normally pretty good.
Okay. We might try and go for a little bit of a switch over here if things get a little bit too rough, but we'll stick with it for now, see if it gets itself all good. But Scandal mid lane taking a good chunk of damage from those Forged Spirits, and I mean, despite the fact that Weeha was starting out really bad, he's actually made a little bit of a catch-up in the last couple of minutes. Now 15 and 6, and also has that creep wave that's moving in towards him. But this does mean that they're going to try and go for a little bit of a play here and messing with Miposhka. He still has eyes on him. There's just so much vision in the Dire jungle right now.
Yeah, knows where he can just sneak past everybody. Misery's moving into position. I don't know what he's hoping to accomplish here. I guess he's looking for the Tide.
No. They do end up losing the Phoenix, but Windranger finds the kill onto him. That is really not what you want to have happen in the least bit.
And Miposhka getting pressured a little bit here. Gonna trade some hits with Misery. Windranger getting involved, and that's gonna going to be the end of it. Misery just leaping out of there before he can get X mark the spotted. So what else is happening right now? The Faceless Void is pressuring bottom lane a little bit since nobody's here, but Moo looks like he's going to decide to just chill in the off lane for a little bit. Too much pressure from the Kunkka perhaps, but Miposhka's not going to let up. He's back on the hunt.
And I like this Miposhka build he's gone for already. The drums windlace, it gives him just crazy good movement speed, and considering that we did now see Moo rotate back towards this bottom lane, it does force the rest of the supports to come out and help out Ramses a little bit more and try and put them in a position where they can potentially find a kill with that Chronosphere up, and they end up dropping it onto Misery. They have the follow-up with the Torrent as well as that Sunray, and it is going to be a lot of damage leap. They don't end up being able to hit the Torrent. So Misery escapes level 3 with just that 1 point in the leap, and that's Chronosphere expended.
Yeah, a little bit missed time there from Miposhka. It's kind of hard with Chrono since there isn't a debuff duration that you can check. You know, with like a roar or something like that, you can always just click on the opposing hero and watch the debuff tick down and get your timing perfect. But for Chrono, you kind of just have to either eyeball it. If you're being super sick, you could click on your Faceless Void and look at his cooldown, but I don't know how many people could pull that kind of thing off.
All right, well, you know what? It's looking pretty terrible. Are you cool doing the switch over thing real quickly?
Yeah, that's no problem. I'm ready to go whenever.
All right, so we're going to bring down the stream real quickly, guys, and then we're going to switch over to Baskip's camera work for the rest of this match, and hopefully by the end of it, it's just sort of a roll of a dice. So we'll see you guys in just a couple of seconds. Last hits is having a pretty decent time with it, but they still haven't been able to take down the tier 1 tower. That's on the plate right now.
Yeah, I think that DC were a little bit hesitant about picking the Drow because, like I said, it very much puts the game squarely on Wee's shoulders, and that makes it really easy for Empire's perspective to say, okay, well, all we need to do to win this game is just shut down Weehaw a little bit and don't let them snowball and get our teamfight spells, and that's kind of it. But it looks like they felt that they didn't have any better answers in the end.
They do end up being able to take down that tower. The Kunkka was trying to go for a bit of a deny of his own, but wasn't able to make it happen yet. He still is level 4 and has 2 points in X and 2 points in Torrent, so would love to see him be able to have some presence on the map. Scandal now with the DD rune was just able to do a bit of damage to that tier 1 tower in the mid lane. But at this point, if you're Empire, do you just feel comfortable going into the late game no matter what? What's the point where you really have to be worried as far as number of towers going down?
I mean, the offlane tower you don't really mind at all. Check, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, they still might find this kill though. Soxka again ran down, and well, they're gonna end up bringing in the Beastmaster, and they have to back off.
I think, honestly, even losing most of their outer towers, Empire would probably still be alright. That's even in a lot of games the point where we see Drow Ranger lineups end up kind of turning around, where you just can't quite break up onto the high ground. Then Empire's high ground defense is really good, but at the same time I think they're going to be looking for opportunities with their chrono and everything else whenever they can. So, but yeah, I don't think they have to be stressed even if they start losing a bunch of towers quickly. If DC start picking up the pace.
And I'm looking now as well at the tier 1 that's going to start to go down in this bottom lane. King R is still in the area, so if somebody does show up, they're going to be able to get a pretty nice little Chronosphere. Drop down with the combination there. But the Faceless Void already with the Vanguard online, going back for that Radiance potentially. How do you feel about that pick in the context of this draft? Is that the one with all of this right-click damage coming out?
I definitely think the Radiance could be a good grab here. I don't think the Vanguard is bad either, even if he ends up having to divert to a different build at some point. You know, if he ends up going back for, say, a Diffusal Manta, just for some damage that way with slightly easier build-up. We've seen some Echo Saber on Void as well. I think it was Loda who went for kind of an Echo Saber Mjolnir build in one game. So I think the Vanguard is actually pretty versatile this game, and there's so much right-click damage from DC. So even having the option to maybe build it into a Crimson Guard for your team later on could also be something that Ramses looks at down the line once he's got a couple of damage items for himself. They're going to smoke right on top of a ward here, unfortunately. So I don't think this is going to really end up accomplishing too much. Looks like maybe just a tower trade coming up.
Yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate situation. They would have loved to find somebody there. It does look like instead DC are going to be the ones to wrap it around, but I don't know if this is really the play. I mean, you're going into Chronosphere and Ravage. Afterlife is going to be the first one there. Can they kill off King R right at the start of this? This would be huge. They do end up having Afterlife up front and center, but they don't want to go onto him if he's the only one that they're able to catch an arrow going, possibly. They do end up being able to hit onto Afterlife. Stunned for the moment, but Chronosphere is going to be available, and the Kunkka boat coming through. Afterlife still alive. He is just going to be able to walk away from them. So very fortunate that he doesn't end up going down. The rum buff was enough to keep him alive.
Yeah, really nicely played there by Mimposhka, just throwing out the boat immediately. Resolution did manage to take the bottom tier 1 in the meantime, so it does end up being a tower trade overall with the VS denying mid lane. But, it still seems fine for Empire, honestly. Getting a tower trade without using any of their big ultimates, really, I think that's ARK. Alright, we've got a Midas up now for Wii, so his game can really start getting going. But looks like we're just chilling for a little bit.
Yeah, it's sort of that spot where it's you don't want to necessarily go in before you get those big items up and online, and I am still a little bit surprised that DC were able to get off to this good of a start in terms of the difference in net worth. Granted, it is with the tower getting taken down both bottom and the top lane, but a 1,500 net worth lead, despite the fact that the Invoker ended up dying a couple of times, he's still not in a terrible position. And like you were saying with that Midas online, he is going to be farming significantly faster. We talked at the beginning of the draft about needing to augment Weeha's build to try and have something to take care of the time dilation. He's still going back for the drums. Do you think this is eventually going to be a BKB for him?
Yeah, I think he's facing the fact that he kind of just has to go BKB at some point this game. It is a player preference thing as well. He could even go for the drum and the Yule potentially, but I get the feeling he might just go like drum Ags. Maybe he even considers a Linken's this game since he is up against the Wind Ranger.
Ooh.
We'll have to see.
Afterlife going to be in a little bit of trouble. A couple more right clicks. They do have that Wave of Terror to give vision, but doesn't look like they want to dive for it as of yet. I mean, they could have definitely, but looks like they're just going to let him go now. Wind Ranger here, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, and they should be able to find this kill with Scandal, I would imagine. They're scouting out Weeha, and that's going to end up being a shackle on him. Instead, to swap away, Ravage gets dropped, and that's going to be a dead Weeha again. Soxka maybe going to fall as well. He ends up going for the TP out, and that is going to be to safety. But in the meantime, Resolution taking a good chunk of damage there in the mid lane himself.
Big kill for Empire to grab there. Just unfortunate that Weehaw was hovering around on the fringes there on about a third HP.
Poshka taking damage. They do just TP away though, and he's out. Okay.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Oh man, that really hurts for DC. Just unfortunate that the Invoker happens to be dead when that Roar gets used. Then have the Sunstrike to finish the kill.
Well, one good little piece of this is that DC realizing that the Chronosphere is the only big ultimate that's up and online at this stage outside of Phoenix Egg. They're going to go in and try and take down Roshan, and they are going to be able to secure this. So at least it does force the Kunkka away and means that they can't come and contest it. So that's at least something going their way. I'm not sure if that was fully premeditated, but the end result is pretty nice for DC.
Yeah, nice pickup, but I feel like they're further behind at this stage than they'd like to be, picking up this first Roshan. Tier 1 tower is still standing mid, so maybe this Aegis gets them like 2 towers potentially if they get a pick off, maybe a third, but like I said, the timing that they're really aiming for is that this first Aegis gets them kind of all of the outer towers and gets them that huge net worth lead that you're used to seeing on these Dry Ranger lanes. Really push
Sunstrike? Afterlife? Oh my god, he was so close to getting killed off. Yeah, that is sort of, and it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to do that with this Aegis at all. Ramses is not going to end up going for that Radiance build. Instead, it looks like he's going back for the Yasha. So maybe just going for the straight up, Manta style Diffusal Blade eventually. That does feel like it could be a good answer. If they're able to steal away these Ancients, this could be a big play. The Vengeful Spirit and Drow are trying to take this down, but it looks like somebody's going to come and contest this as King R spots them out. And with that, they're going to back.
Yeah, I really like the Manta Diffusal build here as well because it gives him lots of ways to potentially deal with the Gust from the Drow Ranger, and that's... there are some other reasonable lockdowns. I got a stun on the King R, but he's just going to dive away. But yeah, being able to dispel the Gust is the big thing. That's really going to be the only thing that kills Ramses reliably here, other than the Roar.
Necro Book level 2 on the Beastmasters. They do smoke up. He can TP in there, but he's very far away from where the action is probably going to take place. As Ramses, you mentioned it, the Gust, it's available, and they're going to throw out the stun as well as the silence. Sunstrike coming through as well, but not going to be able to bring him down as of yet, and he just ends up going for the leap away. So they take down the Phoenix, and Ramses able to walk away.
They tried to pull off a sick swap back into Arrow, but unfortunately Ramses just managed to run a little bit too far, and so the Venge had to walk forward to get off the swap, and they couldn't get it. But it was only like 50 or 100 units off, so almost very well coordinated by DC.
I'm glad that you were able to see that. All I saw was a bunch of things moving around a couple seconds after they were casted, but cool stuff if they were able to hit it. I like the combination. Resolution is going to be going down here towards the bottom rune spot, and double damage is available, so that could be something that helps to turn the tide a little bit into their favor. Towers are going to fall very rapidly, and at least for now they are getting a couple of these other towers. Tier 2 is probably going to drop fairly rapidly in this bottom lane, although it looks like, at least for now, Empire want to come and contest.
Yeah, big smoke coming in. Misery reveals it a little bit. Torrent is going to catch him. They've got the vision.
A leap away, there's the combination coming through, and that is going to be a kill onto Misery. So Wind Ranger brings him down. Chronosphere catches as well. That's going to only be onto one. Moo is going to go down from this one, I would imagine, though, as that is going to be the Shackle and the Torrent combination. So the end result is 2 kills, but more importantly also, they don't end up being able to take that bottom tier 2 tower.
Yeah, and it's 2 kills for only a Chronosphere, so they've still got their Ravage in reserve, still have the Supernova in reserve, and it looks like DC just kind of shifting gears a little bit. We've got another Midas over on the Marana, so it looks like Misery's hoping to kind of transition into somewhat of a core role this game. Wee has just picked up his drum. He's got something else on the courier. Yeah, Boots of Travel coming in. So it looks like they are kind of shifting to a more split push oriented plan here, instead of trying to fight Empire head on.
Well, and that is still something that they're capable of doing. And Drow Ranger drafts, while they traditionally have had a lot of trouble scaling into the later stages with the added items we've seen, you know, Hurricane Pike, as well as the Ags on Drow being a thing that's sort of come about every now and then, this is still a lineup that can cause problems even late into the game. And if they lose one fight in fairly dramatic fashion, then Empire are probably going to end up just losing the towers incredibly rapidly. So we'll see. Looks like Moo and Misery are hunting right now, and I mean the whole side of Empire is all together here. They need to be a little bit careful about how they go for it. They get the courier, but with that, Empire should realize what's going on. They hit the stun onto King R, maybe going for a bit more here. That's a lot of damage. Sunstrike, they finished him off. I think that with that X, though, Ramses trying to find him. Misery's still running away. I think that they're gone.
And at the same time, Resolution manages to finish off the bottom tier 2, so getting a bit more gold flowing in there, continuing to open up the map. And things looking good for DC in this gear shift towards just split pushing and whatever else. They do end up losing the Aegis as well, just to it timing out, so also makes sense as to why they weren't pushing aggressively as 5 and trying to make anything happen.
I like this pickup too. We talked about just going straight back for the Aghanim Scepter after already having the drums and Hand of Midas completed with the Boots of Travel. So not opting to change up his build too much, and I guess he's just resigned to dealing with the time dilation coming out from Ramses. And I kind of feel like, though, if you do end up getting a Diffusal Blade pretty soon, that this could be a really big problem for this Invoker, as Misery is going to be wrapped around upon, and I think, again, the X-Torrent combo with the boat, everything's going to be thrown out, and Misery's just dead.
Yeah, pushing very aggressively there. Looks like he at least managed to shop up before he died, so didn't lose out on too much gold. And it is kind of the reveal of the Blink Dagger over on Scandal as well, so everybody else on DC should now know and be a little bit more aware. And that is the one slight difficulty about switching to this split push plan for DC is that Empire do actually have quite a bit of catch.
Afterlife? Oh my god. The whole combo came out from him right there, but they still can't find the kill. Took the Sunstrike and the Meteor. That's a tanky fish. He's just going to be able to blink away. Interestingly, he ended up going for the not mech build, and instead just the straight up blink dagger, feeling like they want to be able to get into position with those ultimates. What do you think about that?
I think it's just because he has a one position faceless void who isn't going for blink, so he feels like he just needs to be the setup here. And I like it. I mean, he's still going back for a headdress now, so it looks like he may still end up picking up the mech in the end. But the really important thing for them was to be able to take fights. And to win fights, they really needed to get the jump, less than just having that little bit of extra survivability.
You love to see this play as well. They throw out the X marks the spot and just going to bring back Scandal. So he can keep on hitting away at that tower, and they end up being able to, unfortunately, get it denied. The X plays are always a fun thing to see. Ramses now looking up in the top lane here. He does have the Chronosphere drop down onto Moo's head, and the arrow coming in as well. It is going to end up hitting as well as the shackle, so controlled for days, but at the same time, they actually don't have the reveal. There's the dust, and he is going to end up falling. Phoenix finds the kill. Misery's still there, and trying to keep Ramses alive. He is going to be able to survive through that combo.
Yeah, that's why you build the Vanguard on the Void. Just get that extra survivability. They did end up expending quite a bit just to get that kill, and with that, DC just gonna shove in both of the other lanes, knowing that there's quite a few abilities on cooldown. DC's real goal here is if they're gonna take any fights, they want it to be on the Empire side of the map. You know, Empire really want to fight past the river, but DC not giving them the opportunity.
Oh, Afterlife again, taking some more damage, and with that, they're going to be able to turn this back around, actually, onto the Vengeful Spirit. There's the lift up with the Torrent, and needs to be a little bit careful with the Ravage throw, and they might be able to find a kill here. A lot of damage being dealt, and that is going to be the Vengeful Spirit going down. Resolution ends up popping the BKB, and I think King R needs to get out of here. He's going to fall, though. No great way to get away and escape from that Drow Ranger. Another initiation onto Weeha. This Kunkka setting it up beautifully, and he is going to fall as well. So 2 gone, and hunted for even a little bit more.
They were so close to getting the kill on the Tide, and him getting that Ravage off, like ravaging 3 right on the very edge, turned out to be huge.
Jumped in. They hit a blind arrow. The silence is there. Manta style away and turning on to Misery. They actually almost able to kill him off. 12 HP. The Manta style illusions. Oh no. And now, actually on the other side too, Drow Ranger takes down the Kunkka. The team fight continues. This is a very messy one. Resolution is going to fall now. Oh, and looking for Moo. My goodness, and it was all set up by them trying to take down this Ramses Faceless Void, and they're just not going to be able to do it. Scandal's chasing no mana, but it kind of doesn't matter. He's just going to right-click him down. The rest of the side of Empire is here as well, and Afterlife jumps forward, is going to be able to go up one more Anchor Smash. The right-clicks from Scandal are very damaging, and I think that he is going to end up falling here. There's no way he was going to get out of there.
I love how, like, Scandal, I guess he just doesn't realize who's alive in that fight. He's worried that somebody's coming back, or... You know, because people lose track of things a little bit in those long duration team fights. I think he was worried that they were about to run into an Invoker or something, and then Afterlife, correctly realizing everybody is dead, nobody is nearby, we're all the way on our side of the map. Let's just get this kill on Move. Shouldn't be any trouble at all. So easy fight win for Empire there. I mean, stuff is kind of on cooldown, but we're already getting to the point in the game where it takes DC such a long time to respawn and pick themselves up and get back out onto lanes that they can't really exploit it. Chronosphere is already back up, Ravage in 25 seconds, Supernova is up and ready to go. And I guess we just have to see if DC can win this by split pushing and getting pickoffs.
It's a really tough game, and again, this is elimination time at this point for Digital Chaos, a tournament which was supposed to be by and large their sort of coming out party, and has not really worked out the way that they thought it was. First round getting beaten down by CDEC Youth, and now also struggling against an Empire team. Granted, I think that people were underestimating Empire with the poor results after the TI6 qualifiers. I think people forgot just how good this team can be with all of the young talent. So, I don't know, a bit of a rough draw for DC, and if they're not careful, if they can't pull it back and, like you said, get the split pushing done, they could be knocked out right here.
Yeah, I think the other thing to say for Empire in these two games is that their drafting is being quite stable. Nothing flashy, nothing too complicated, really. You know, just sort of solidly responding to what DC have been doing, and that seems to be... they seem to be doing pretty well with that. They're going to go for a smoke here. I don't know if it was quite scattered out by the Beastmaster Hawk that was lurking nearby, but...
Oh, this could be rough. If they can find a big pick-off, and there's the chase forward. They throw out the stun, and Silence down as well. He has Kraken Shell available that's going to end up popping soon if they do a bit more damage to him. But it looks like if they wanted to, they can go for the reinitiation. All the ultimates still up and online. Oh, and DC, I don't know if they want to chase this.
Saxo was looking for the swap there, considered it, but in the end, I think they just realized, look, we don't want to 5-on-5 right now. It's just there's no way that can be a good idea. If they find the Void, then the Tidehunter's just going to jump them. If they go for the Tide, well, we've kind of seen what happens. He's just impossible to burst down unless you get your chains done perfectly around the Kraken Shell, and even then, that's going to be very, very difficult. So, back to farming stations.
And you look at this, there are pieces here again for them to find what they need, and Draw Ranger built into that quarterstaff. I would imagine that she's going to try and go into a butterfly, I guess. Is there anything else really that seems good? I mean, you're not going to build an orchid this game, or an Echo Saber, I would imagine. So that's maybe one of the ways to get back into it. But bottom lane, Moo gets jumped upon. They don't land the shackle, and Roar is not going to end up coming out, but they are going to be able to go for a counter here as Soxka dealing out a bit of damage. Roared on the Scandal now. Silence onto King R. They can jump back in with Afterlife if they want, but that would be a losing battle as they've already lost two, and now forced to run away. They throw out the Ice Wall. Weehaw trying to chase is going to be able to bring down Empire Afterlife, and looking for a little bit more. Can they catch out Miposhka? It doesn't look like it. 3 dead, though. And with this, DC can maybe even push. Honestly, with the tier 2 tower gone, they take towers so rapidly.
Yeah, that was such a nice place to get a grab. Right at the doorstep of Empire's base. The wave was pushing in as well. And part of that is just because Empire were looking for that fight. They weren't really dealing with their lanes, so it got pushed over.
Tidehunter does not have buyback. If they knew that he didn't have buyback, I still think they maybe could have done something there, but the buyback from the Wind Ranger, that at least dissuades them from going any further.
Yeah, there is a Roche up right now, but again, DC do have to be a little bit careful about going in there just because of the big team fight combo. But picking up some more farm, looks like I think this is going to be, he's got an ultimate orb, I think it is just going to be the Lincoln Sphere here, so that it's much harder for the Wind Ranger to jump on him and burst him down, since you either block the focus fire or the shackle shot. Pretty nice counter, but DC do go in for the Roche.
Well, and now Empire is here. On the other side, Moo is still farming up the jungle. This is a little bit of an awkward angle again, as maybe going to see the arrow connect. It does end up hitting onto the Phoenix, so a little bit of a scary situation. The Sunstrike's going to come out as well. A lot of damage. They end up being able to find that kill. Ravage as well as the Chronosphere, and Resolution Control jumped upon for the moment. Can they actually bring him back? They're going to buy back on the Invoker. He wants to get back into the fray. Misery brought very low. It is going to get chased down there by Ramses. A pretty nice blow from the Tornado as well as the Ice Wall. Ramses looking after Misery a little bit more on the other side of the fight. Soxka is trying to get away from here. Scandal is running the way on, and Miposhka is going to drop as well. Alright, so 2 dead at the end of the day, but it did cost the buyback of the Invoker.
Yeah, pretty big loss, but they should be able to get the Roshan for him. Afterlife is still trying to escape here, but looks like he's going to get out of there A-okay. And that was a pretty solid buyback, I think, from Free. And having the Boots of Travel really paying off there, being able to TP down to the bottom wave, and even keep the Marana alive.
Yeah, that was pretty well played. Again, it's just a little bit of a scary situation as they're going to chase Moo out again. That was Ravage and Chronosphere committed for this, and looking for a kill. He is going to go down. The arrow is not going to be able to do a ton. Never mind, Ramsey's brought down very rapidly. The combination coming out from Weehan. There's going to be the Phoenix brought down as well. He throws out the ship, but to no avail. It's not going to be able to keep him alive. So 4 are dead again. And DC end up being able to take it. Another really solid executed team fight.
I don't know what Empire doing there fighting without the Chrono or the Ravage. Just kind of, they're getting caught up in DC's pace of the game right now, which is they can fight all the time. They don't really have to wait for anything.
Oh man.
DC straight up onto the high ground.
Middle tower has
Afterlife jumps in, and they're going to end up being able to maybe even take him out again as well. There's going to be the tornado pin down. Maposhka, can he actually do anything? No. Tidehunter's gone. He buys back 40 seconds for Chronosphere. Yeah, these team fights are happening in slideshow for me, but you can clearly tell that DC is off on a tear right now. Another Gush, Resolution brought low, but not going to die as of yet. Still does have the Aegis too if things get a little bit too scary, and the Torrent is going to end up lifting him up, but not quite a kill. 43 HP, and now the Shackle shot. Misery caught to a creep, but still fine for the moment. Resolution still not brought down. He does finally fall there. The EMP is going to come out, but they've already lost 2 lanes of barracks. This is such a great situation to be in right now for DC, and they're even going to turn around a little bit onto this. The Chronosphere catches onto 2, and maybe if they can kill Resolution and Soxman, it might be enough. That's 2 down, and they are going to be able to TP out with everybody else, it looks like. And now Empire have to get something with this.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. There's still tier 2s up. I don't think DC are really going to lose too much on the swing back here. And wow, things just like that one team fight in the Radiant jungle with the Weehaw buyback and the AoE ultimates not getting enough done. It was pretty game winning. It's not over yet, but good spot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very reminiscent of what happened in the previous game. You look at the net worth graph again, and it's just a very significant drop-off off the back of a team fight that doesn't go their direction. Like we talked about, Ramses, he does have the Diffusal Blade up and online at this point, so if they can catch that Invoker and stop him from just making so much chaos in these fights, they'll be in a good position. But it is a rough one indeed, as he already has the Aghanim Scepter and Lincoln Sphere online. They don't have a great way to, I think, bring him down outside of like a Chronosphere combo.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty tough to pin down. Resolution's got his Butterfly completed as well, so his team has a huge boost in their damage as well from that.
Misery very far forward. The rest of the side of DC is going to come in from the other side, flanking out Empire, and they've already brought down 1. Phoenix killed off, buys back. There's the Ravage. Hits on to 3, 4. Is it enough, though? Ramses jumps on top of Weehaw. Not going to be able to find that kill as of yet. Sunray coming out as well. That's a nice Chronosphere. They're doing a ton of damage to DC, and they are going to be able to bring down almost everybody. Marana buys back, but Maposhka, can he end up getting away from this one? Re-controlled for the moment. He is going to be able to survive through that. They need to get out of here. The Torrent ends up hitting the Drow Ranger, and Ramses just trying to escape. So they've made a good team fight go their way, but again, it comes at a cost of tier 4s taking a good amount of damage. Creeps on their base.
And DC are just buying back at this point. They bought back on the Marana, they bought back on the Vengeful Spirit as well. They just want to come and end the game while the Chrono and the Ravage are both on cooldown.
And this is what we were talking about. I mean, at this stage, it's just you lose one team fight in a really bad way, and you end up losing potentially even the whole game. They are going to be able to bring down that Kunkka. Marana on the back line, doing it big. They just do so much damage, and as you said, no Chronosphere, no Ravage available. They don't have any answer at all right now. Misery even just in the thick of things. The right clicks are going down onto the Tidehunter. He's going to fall, and Ramses can only look on as GG well played ends up getting called. They take Mega Creeps and they take the game.
It was just that one fight that was kind of all that it took in the end. And the one thing that we didn't even really talk about that fight is how much it split up and how well that worked out for DC. We had the Void going after the Invoker and the Marana. We had another little 2-on-2 somewhere else, and then they were chasing the Tidehunter and the Kunkka off on the other side, and being able to split it up and win that fight as convincingly as they did, set up the Roshan, and that was that. So, game 3 time, I guess.
Game number 3. We're going to see how this goes. Hopefully it ends up being another good match. It's kind of been a little bit of an awkward situation where at around that 20 or plus minute mark, they end up being able to have a very swift drop off, and I'm still feeling like DC haven't got the draft that they've wanted in these games. This last one